Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about the Yincrow X6. If you remember a little while back, we talked about the RW-9, which is another great model, and I think I concluded that video by saying people really said the X6 is a better set, but I happened to pull this one out first, and it's a great set, and I found it a little hard to believe that the X6 was actually going to be better, but we'll see how that goes. But both of them are quite nice sets, and I would actually be happy with either one of them. But if you look on WooEasy today, it's about $12.82, and I don't remember how much this guy is, maybe $18. It's actually significantly more expensive than the X6, so that is one big difference between the two, is the price, and I probably purchased it somewhere around $10 back on 11/11-ish, and it took forever to get here. So what does it look like up close? It's got your basic earbud shell. This one says X6 on it. This one is essentially the same shell. They both say Yincrow on that side. One says RW-9, one says X6. So that's the major difference. And the cable, of course, this is a blue braided cable, and this is a straight gold cable, which is actually quite nice. And this is actually, I think, a nicer cable than that one, but just up to your personal preference. So let's get into it. So like I said, the RW-9 is a great set. The X6 is a great set. I would probably be happier with either one of them, but I'm happier with the one that costs less, because it actually is a bit better and it costs less, and so that would be the pick between the two. It feels like a relaxed, warm IEM with good stage, and at some point, I sort of forgot that it was an earbud. It's kind of that close to an IEM where you don't necessarily thinking about this foam thing in your ear. You're just enjoying the sound, and it very much takes you to that point of forgetting what the device is, and you're just enjoying the music. So what does it sound like? Kind of a shallow V, maybe a slightly boosted bass, like an L shape. It's got this easygoing, gentle boost on the bass side. Very engaging mids. The bass and the treble kind of just below the mids, kind of almost neutral-ish. So you don't have this big V like a KZ, or even a bigger V like the RW-9. It's I'm not going to say it's neutral-ish, but you don't necessarily find that big boost on either side. So quite nice. I would call these a long session set. They're non-fatiguing, very much nice levels on across the board. So on the bass side, just a bit of boost to make it fun, but very much a compliment to the mids. It doesn't draw attention to itself. It's not this big boomy bass. It's very much nice quantity, nice quality. It's almost transparent is how sometimes I describe bass, where it's not doing anything wrong, so you don't notice it. It just sounds right. And by sounding right, you don't pay attention to it, and you start focusing on the music itself and not this weird boomy bass. So yeah, it just doesn't do anything wrong. And a track like Daft Punk's Get Lucky, it's the right bass level, sitting right under the mids, layered and tight. It's quite nice. So the mids, not recessed, and these are almost playlist killer mids. It's very hard to find tracks that I was going through where it sounds like, usually you get a V shape, and some vocals are recessed, or the mids don't have enough detail. Especially on budget sets, there's always a problem, something that you need to address, or something that annoys you. Not so much with these. You can basically walk through at least my playlist, and not really an issue with too many tracks at all. Very big vocal image, so you don't get these recessed vocals, which annoy some people. And if I'm going to nitpick it, I will say the edges are soft. There's a more of a soft sound to it. If you're used to an IEM especially with BAs, like a hybrid setup that can have a very harder edge to sounds, especially treble sounds. That's not necessarily a hard sound on this one. And a song like Dua Lipa's IDGAF, where on a very dark background source, her voice will sort of cut like a razor. It's very, very sharp. And on this one, not as sharp. So, but the trade-off is it's a warm sound, and the bass presence offers a very natural sound through the mids. And most people will take that over, hearing one track in the best version. Hearing her voice with a very hard edge is something I enjoy, but overall, it's kind of one data point out of a whole playlist. So, but just nitpicking it. So treble, doing a similar nitpick. It's extended and non-fatiguing and not thin like a DD. And again, this warmth kind of runs throughout the whole sound, and everything sounds a little more natural with that much warmth and bass presence. It sounds like a DD should. But again, if I'm going to nitpick it, electronic music, deadmau5's, DeVelt, those really hard, sharper synth sounds, the core of the sound sounds right, but the edges, where you're expecting that very hard edge to some of his sounds and some of his music, not going to happen on this particular set. But I tried really hard to find some nitpicks. It's just a very good set, and it's very hard to find things that are wrong to it. But something like that is just I noticed it, but that's not going to stop me from listening to that song over and over again as I did. So staging, wide, there is some depth to it, but really what you notice is the mids really fill the stage. It's a really big vocal image, and not something I expected on. Well, I sort of expected it because the RW-9 isn't all that far from it, but it's odd to find it in a $10 set, let alone a $10 earbud. So if I'm going to nitpick it, it needs more height, but again, that's just nitpicking it. So again, between the two, both great sets. I will still take the cheaper one, and I think it does sound a little better, especially with this right level of bass. If you're going for a V-shape, maybe the RW-9 is more interesting, but this thing just isn't bass shy at all. There's plenty of it, and it's great quality and quantity, and it fits in right below the mid. So, I think it's just the better set, and it's cheaper, and yes, everyone was right. So, again, thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you next time.